Sometimes, it only takes a single moment to shift the way people see everything. Not a dramatic announcement, not a press conference, not even a carefully planned stage performance, just a reaction that looked a pause, a silence that felt heavier than words. For Jungkook, that moment came unexpectedly. And for fans around the world, it became the spark that ignited endless discussion, deep emotion, and quiet curiosity about what might be unfolding behind the scenes. This is not a story about rumors. This is not about controversy. This is about a moment, and why it mattered more than anyone realized at first. At first glance, it didn't seem extraordinary. Jungkook stood as he always does, calm, composed, and professional. His expression wasn't dramatic. There was no sudden outburst or visible shock. But fans who have followed him for years noticed something instantly. This reaction wasn't like him. There was a pause, slightly longer than usual, a look that lingered. A moment where time felt like it slowed down, and for fans who know Jungkook well, those seconds spoke volumes, because Jungkook has always been known for emotional honesty, but also for control. When he reacts, it's usually subtle, and when something breaks through that calm exterior, people pay attention. Longtime fans understand one thing very clearly. Jungkook doesn't overreact. He processes, he reflects, he absorbs moments quietly. That's why this reaction stood out. It wasn't loud, it wasn't obvious, but it was real. Across social media, fans began replaying the moment, not to exaggerate it, but to understand it. They slowed it down. They analyzed his body language. They compared it to past moments where Jungkook had been surprised, emotional, or deeply thoughtful, and one conclusion kept surfacing. This reaction wasn't rehearsed. What made the moment even more powerful was who was nearby. V, known for his expressive personality, emotional depth, and artistic sensitivity, V is someone Jungkook shares a long and meaningful bond with. Their connection has always been built on mutual respect, trust, and shared history. When V noticed Jungkook's reaction, there was a brief shift. A glance, a moment of awareness. It was a confusion. It was a concern. It was recognition. As if V understood instantly that something meaningful had just happened. And that silent understanding between them became just as important as Jungkook's reaction itself. In the world of entertainment, especially at a global level, everything is often explained, statements are released, clarifications are made, moments are framed carefully. But this time, there was silence. No immediate explanation. No official follow-up. No attempt to redefine what people had seen. And that silence allowed fans to reflect rather than react. Instead of jumping to conclusions, many fans asked deeper questions. Why did this moment feel different? What caused such a genuine reaction? Why did it resonate so strongly? Sometimes, when nothing is said, people listen more closely to understand why this reaction mattered. It's important to look at how Jungkook has evolved. From the very beginning of his career, Jungkook carried immense responsibility at a young age. He grew up in front of cameras, learned discipline early, and developed a strong sense of professionalism. Over the years, fans have watched him mature. As an artist, as a performer, as a person, his reactions today are not the same as they were years ago. They carry weight. They reflect experience. When Jungkook reacts strongly, even quietly, it often signals something meaningful. What surprised many fans wasn't just Jungkook's reaction, but how it made them feel. People described feeling a sudden sense of anticipation, a quiet emotional pull, a feeling that something is changing. This wasn't fear. This wasn't sadness. It was curiosity mixed with hope, a sense that a new chapter might be approaching, not announced. But one of the most remarkable aspects of this moment was how fans handled it. Instead of spreading unverified claims, many focused on respectful speculation. Could this be related to future creative plans? Was this a personal realization? Did it reflect a shift in mindset rather than a concrete event? The conversation stayed grounded, and that made it stronger. As discussions continued, one detail kept appearing, not as a confirmed fact, but as a point of curiosity. 2026, not mentioned directly, not confirmed, but quietly referenced in broader conversations about the future. Fans didn't treat it as a promise. They treated it as a possibility, a symbolic marker for what lies ahead rather than a fixed destination. Whenever something feels significant in the world of global artists, people naturally wonder how companies respond, not out of criticism, but curiosity. Fans asked, how does a company prepare for moments like this? How do they support artists during transitions? How much of the future is planned, and how much evolves naturally? The discussion wasn't about panic, it was about awareness. Because when artists grow, systems around them must grow too. What's important to emphasize is this. This moment did not feel like chaos. It felt like transition. Change doesn't always arrive with noise. Sometimes it arrives quietly, asking people to pay closer attention. Jungkook's reaction didn't signal trouble. It signaled depth. One reason this moment resonated so deeply is because it felt authentic. In an industry filled with polish and precision, genuine emotion stands out. Fans don't connect to perfection, they connect to honesty, and Jungkook's reaction, subtle as it was, felt honest. He didn't need to say anything, he didn't need to react dramatically. His presence alone grounded the moment. The dynamic between them reminded fans of something important. Growth doesn't happen alone, it happens alongside people who understand your journey. The phrase changes everything doesn't always mean a dramatic shift overnight. Sometimes it means a change in perspective, a new level of awareness, a readiness for what comes next. Jungkook's reaction didn't rewrite the story. It added a new layer to it. One of the most beautiful aspects of this moment was how fans responded. They didn't demand answers. They didn't pressure explanations, they observed. They respected. They waited. That patience transformed a simple reaction into a meaningful shared experience. Years from now, fans may look back and say, that was the moment we felt it. Not because something ended, but because something began to take shape. The future doesn't need to be rushed. Whether or not 2026 brings something major isn't the point. The point is readiness. Jungkook's reaction suggested awareness of self, of direction, of growth. And that awareness is powerful. This moment didn't close a chapter, it turned a page. And sometimes, the most meaningful changes happen not when everything is revealed, but when people sense that something meaningful is on its way. Jungkook's reaction didn't give answers. It invited reflection. And in doing so, it changed everything, quietly, respectfully, and honestly. What made this moment linger wasn't just what happened, it was what didn't happen afterward. There was no rush to explain, immediate framing, attempt to turn the moment into a headline, and yet, it stayed alive. Fans kept returning to it, not because they were searching for drama, but because it felt unresolved in a thoughtful way. Like a sentence that ends with a comma instead of a period, Jungkook's reaction didn't demand attention, it earned it. Those who watched closely noticed a shift that went beyond facial expression. The atmosphere changed. Moments before felt routine. Moments after felt heavier, more intentional. This wasn't discomfort. It was intention. It was awareness. If Jungkook had briefly stepped out of the flow of the present and into a deeper internal space, processing something only he could fully understand in that instant. Jungkook has built a reputation over the years not just as a performer, but as someone deeply connected to his instincts. He listens, he observes, he reflects before moving forward. That's why fans didn't dismiss this reaction as coincidence. They've seen him react to milestones before. Moments of realization, creative breakthroughs, emotional turning points, and this reaction carried that same quiet gravity. In modern fandom culture, there's often pressure to define everything immediately. What does it mean? What's next? What's the timeline? But this moment resisted that urgency, and fans respected it. Instead of demanding clarity, many embraced uncertainty, understanding that some moments are meant to be felt before they are understood. There's an important distinction fans pointed out. This wasn't surprise. Surprise is sudden. It's sharp, it fades quickly. This reaction was slower, deeper, more grounded. It looked like realization, the kind that settles in quietly and reshapes how someone sees what lies ahead. While Jungkook's reaction became the focus, V's response added another layer. He didn't interrupt. He didn't question. He simply noticed, and that subtle acknowledgement spoke volumes. V has always been perceptive, emotionally intelligent, deeply observant. His calm presence suggested understanding rather than confusion, AS if he knew this moment wasn't meant to be filled with words. The relationship between Jungkook and V has always reflected mutual growth. They've evolved together. As artists, as individuals, as people navigating an intense global spotlight, that's why this moment felt shared. Even without dialogue, growth recognized growth. Fans often see countless moments pass by. Some are exciting, some are emotional, some are quickly forgotten. This one stayed, not because it was loud, but because it felt foundational, like a quiet recalibration rather than a dramatic shift. Time gives moments meaning. What felt ambiguous at first began to feel intentional as days passed, not because new information emerged, but because perspective deepened. Fans revisited the moment with calmer eyes, with patience, with trust, and that patience changed the conversation. Creative evolution often begins with reflection. Before new music, before new projects, before new stages, there's a moment where something clicks internally. Jungkook's reaction felt like a glimpse into that invisible process. Fans didn't ask, "What is it?" They asked, "What does it mean?" And sometimes, meaning matters more than information. This reaction didn't predict the future. It reframed how people think about it. Instead of expectations, there was openness. Instead of timelines, there was trust. There were no promises made, and hints dropped deliberately. Yet the confidence felt stronger than any announcement, because it came from authenticity, not promotion. At its core, this was a human moment, a pause, a realization, a breath, something everyone has experienced, even outside of fame. That universality made it resonate far beyond fandom boundaries. This moment didn't resolve anything, and that's what made it beautiful. Unfinished stories leave room for growth, for surprise, for genuine evolution. Fans didn't leave with answers. They left with understanding. Understanding that